I guess some of you are wondering why an 18-year-old girl is standing in front of you here today. I do not have a university degree. I do not have years of wisdom or experience to impart with you today. And so some of you are probably thinking, how am I qualified to stand here today? And yet, all of this makes my smile grow wider, because the very fact that I'm standing in front of you today is testament to how far we have progressed in achieving Angela Marucci's mission. My aim is not to plant seeds of new knowledge into your minds. Instead, I'm here to do what I love, and that is to paint over your everyday experiences with a different color, so that the picture is never the same again. Good morning, delegates. I'm Kirsten Everett. I am a writer at heart, an opportunity seeker in mind, and an Ursuline student at the core. Today, I am here in a grey blazer instead of a green one. The word Serviam no longer hovers just over my heart, but it rather is ingrained in my very soul. Because although I'm no longer enrolled at this institution, the Ursuline values are still in my heart. And today I'm here to show you how these values have guided me through my life and why I believe they are critical to the transformation of society. But before I get carried away, I would like to go back to that 7-letter word that every Ursuline student knows so well. Compared to words like constitution, reconciliation, and juxtaposition, the word serviam is reasonably short. And yet, some people may feel that this limits the impact the word and the actions surrounding the word could possibly bring. I oppose this mission and instead say that the impact that that single 7-letter word can have is magnanimous. Most of you are probably wondering why this is the point I've chosen to lead with. You've probably witnessed firsthand how service has shaped entire communities. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Our expectations for this impact have been boxed in by what we've experienced, and thus few of us truly expect our actions to have an earth-shaking impact. To be honest, my thoughts were the same when I sat in the back of a game vehicle in December 2012. My expectation for that day was to see a few animals, have a swim or maybe 2 or 3, and chat to my family. The last thing that I expected were 4 little words to creep into my mind. I whispered those 4 words over and over and over and over again. It was a 3-hour drive and I had no paper or pens. So over and over and over again, those words were repeated in my mind. And yet, at the time, I thought they'd shape maybe a 10 to 15-page story. I never guessed they would be the foundation for 2 over 150-page novels. I would never have guessed they would inspire me to self-publish them on Amazon, and that Eclipse Child and Escaping Extinction would soon be available to everyone, in spite of agents believing that at the age of 15, I was too young for my voice to be heard. But that was just the beginning. Instead of just writing that story about a girl who fought rhino poaching, I began to live that aspect in my everyday life. Although my hair never started going, I found my own way to raise awareness about conservation through a website called Mikela. I soon sent an email to the website's founders, but I did not expect anything from it. In fact, it changed my life. Whilst most of my peers watched television series, I wrote a blog post of a poacher attack through the eyes of a rhino calf. While so many of my friends spent hours in the shopping malls, I dreamed what would happen if the last rhino was poached. Over time, I began to learn the statistics and tell as many people as I could the plight of the rhino. Some people were surprised by my age and my message. I told that with a grin. I had decided at a young age that I would not wait to grow up before I started leaving my footprint on this earth. I would start young. A A few blog posts later, and I guessed this would be my new way of life. But God had other plans. I came to school one day, and my life's direction bended once again. For during that assembly, an NGO known as Rhino SA came to talk to us. At the end, one of my teachers called me forward to introduce me to the speakers. Just like that, I knew how I was supposed to serve my community. I would be a voice for the voiceless. Not long after that conversation, I joined Rhino SA, which is an NGO that focuses on the youth educating the youth. And that is what I did. I spoke to hundreds of children of various ages at different events. I watched sadness spark in their eyes as they realized what was happening to their wildlife. But also, I stood back in awe as they inspired me instead of the other way round. Moments like these that occurred when I was serving my community brought me closer to God than ever before. They also helped me to ignore the growls that called my generation apathetic or self-absorbed. A few months later, I witnessed the true strength of my generation when I led them on a march through Stanton in the name of our wildlife. These moments took my breath away, but a part of me itched to be able to write again. And so, instead of withdrawing from the organization, I co-founded Rhino SA and their first newsletter, and became the editor as well as the main writer. Some predicted that this decision would cause my marks to fall, but instead they soared higher than ever before. After all, I was not just doing what I loved, but I actually felt as if I was making a difference in this war against poaching. And for a teenage girl, that was something I never thought I would be able to do. A few months into this road of my life, I was asked to speak to the grade 3s at Brescia. I walked into the room wondering about the futures of these girls. They were so chatty, and yet when I took my place at the front, they showed me so much respect. When I finished my message, several of the girls raised their hands. I grinned, trying to hide my nerves. But when the first asked her question, I was totally blown away. At the age of 9, she wanted to know how she could get involved in the fight against poaching. Standing here today, I am glowing with pride. I am proud that I've been given this opportunity to speak to you today. I am proud of who I've become. But most of all, I am proud that I'm a part of a sisterhood of women and girls who will transform society. I am especially proud of that girl who at the age of 9 already looked for opportunities to serve. I do not believe that Serviam is just a motto. I truly believe that it encapsulates all of the Ursuline values. When I hear the phrase, I will serve, I think of responsibility, empathy, charity, love, and critical thinking. I was encouraged to love these words, not just in meaning, but also in action. To me, being an Ursuline student involves serving God faithfully, respecting those around me, and respecting myself. To me, it means being the first to lend a hand and the last to turn away. To me, it means always having a team of supporters whenever I need it. And to me, it means knowing that I will never be alone. But those are words that you've heard time and time again. That is black and white paint on the pictures where I promised you color. And that is what I'm going to give you. When I open the news on my cell phone or news channel or apps or whatever, I'm confronted with stories that make me want to curl up in a little ball and cry. This is the world we live in. One where rapes, murders, and warfare make the front pages. I used to skim read those articles because I feared what was written. I used to wonder how an Ursuline student could flourish in this kind of world. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I was approaching the situation in the wrong way. Instead of complaining about the problems, I should be looking for solutions. I truly believe that it is no longer time to pity the way the world is, but rather a time to pray for it. I have no doubt that change is around the corner in the form of a group of men and women who should not be underestimated. You may think I am starting to sound a bit idealistic again, and this time last year I would have agreed with you. But since graduating, I have learned that our Ursuline values have prepared us in a way I never would have expected. In fact, I believe that the combination of all these values have given us the key that is needed to unlock one of society's untapped resources, the unemployed. Some of you may think I am crazy, and a part of me thinks I'm crazy too. But just give me a few minutes to explain. Last year, I applied for the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation Fellowship, which focuses on shaping South Africa's next generation of entrepreneurs. Even when I applied, I did not expect to be considered at all. I did not take business science or accounting at school, and I did not even open a lemonade stand as a child. And yet, for some reason, I was invited to be interviewed, and then I was invited to the selection camp. When I was there, I was exposed to a way of thinking that I thought would be very different, but instead, it was extremely familiar. I used to think that being an entrepreneur was just about making money. And in a way, I think it probably still is. But at the very core of entrepreneurship is the critical thinking mindset that identifies an area where the entrepreneur can best serve the community. Do the words critical thinking and serve sound familiar to you? If the answer is yes, then I hope you are just as flabbergasted as I was. If you're not sure just yet, let me explain. An entrepreneur is a change maker and is able to serve his or her community in several different ways. Firstly, he or she invents a product or service that is designed to improve the lives of the community members in some way. Secondly, the entrepreneur hires members of the community, and by doing so, this combats the plague of unemployment that is festering in so many countries. But this impact does not just stop here. The third impact that the entrepreneur has is the ability to inspire those around him or her with the belief that transformation of society is possible. I have cherished my Ursuline values for years. I have strived to strengthen my faith every day. I have strived to serve, and I have strived to change society. And yet, I used to think the biggest difference I would be able to make would be to change the mindsets of people. Instead, I have begun to understand that my Ursuline values could help me to take a big step in solving one of my country's biggest problems. I now know that I was not just educated to pass matric, but also to be innovative in my thinking, and this thought process is fundamental to the next generation of entrepreneurs. A few weeks into December last year, I received a phone call that guided my life down an entrepreneurial path. Through each activity and discussion, I learned more about what it takes to be an entrepreneur. I have long since abandoned the idea that any impact I can make will be tiny in the face of the waves this world has conjured. I can only imagine what could happen if more people begin to combine their Ursuline values in focus on this goal. In the near future, I hope to see more students become entrepreneurs of their lives. Another thing that I've learned from my time at the fellowship thus far is that there are many different types of entrepreneurship. Whilst some are called to focus on uplifting their societies through social programs, others are called to invent prototypes that have the potential to make our lives easier. Initially, I expected this to intimidate me, but soon I was thrilled by it. At school, I was taught to find ways to use my talents to better suit my groups, and in this community, I do the same. As I continued down this path, I began to wonder how else my Ursuline upbringing could surprise me. And as I left my family and my city in pursuit of an education, I soon began to find out. I have never been a person who handles change well, and so I have avoided it as much as possible. I lived in the same house for 16 years. I have attended the same church all of my life, and I started at Bresh House School in grade 0 and matriculated in 2016. All in all, my life has been pretty consistent until this year. And yet, when I was faced with thousands of new faces, I became excited instead of panicking. I soon realized that I love meeting new people. Another thing that interested me was how I was able to find ways to identify with people from different backgrounds. All of these achievements can be traced back to my Ursuline values, and thus I am even more grateful for them now than ever before. There are days when I wish I could fly back in time to a day at school. I would like to see my school friends again and enjoy the routine for a few hours. But I do know that once you are an Ursuline student, you are always an Ursuline student. It is this common identity that unites us regardless of our nationalities. It is this that unites us across ages and backgrounds. For some, this unity is an important support system. Others find it more helpful as a framework to test ideas or to network. Whatever their reasons, many see this unity as a halo of light in a world where divisions are constantly created. I believe that the union between all of these Ursuline schools is more important now than ever before. This is because through this unity, knowledge and tips can be shared. It is also through this unity that students can learn the true meaning of the term global citizens. Technology has made it so much easier now for people to communicate over thousands of kilometers. All we have to do is establish a framework for this communication. Whether this is through pen pal programs, conferences like this one, or newsletters is irrelevant. But what is important is that it happens. Because today, an Ursuline student's world is no longer limited by geographical boundaries. Thanks to globalization, the entire world has become our oysters. But even though all of this sounds glamorous, it is a double-edged sword. After all, thanks to globalization, we now receive even more exposure to the world's temptations. This is the world we as Ursuline students will step out into. So the question is, how do we combat the temptations of this world whilst also remaining true to our values? This is one of the questions that should make all parents shake a little. Some see it as a true test of their parenting and their choice in of their children's education. But I believe that it's more than that. When the student steps out into the world, he or she is not facing all of these obstacles and temptations for the first time. His or her values have been well solidified by now, and thus one of the best ways to help is to ensure that at this point, the student remembers he or she is not alone. Because the world is so much easier to face, knowing that others are going through the same obstacles as you. And so, just as these conferences are great for building connections between educators, it is also communication between students from different Ursuline schools that is essential. By now, I have spent a reasonable amount of time reliving moments of my life with you, and also explaining my views on certain Ursuline values. All of this means nothing without me sharing what I think that being an Ursuline student means. I know I've touched on aspects of this before, but I think this is the core reason for me standing in front of you today. And so I would like to bring us back to the very foundation. The people who enter our Ursuline institutions speak different home languages, live in different places, and have different experiences. All of this can make it harder for them to unite together, and yet they are able to do so under one common identity. I have seen it happen, you've seen it happen, but how does it happen? Well, I think it begins with the seed of faith and a whisper of the desire to leave a legacy. At a young age, I'm not sure if the child knows that this is existing within him or herself, and yet I believe it is. From whatever age, the Ursuline environment nurses the seed of faith, so that the seed is able to germinate and grow taller with every day. At the same time, when St. Ursula and St. Angela's stories are told, this desire to transform society becomes stronger. This is the foundation that I believe is necessary for the student to wrap both arms around the Ursuline values. And when this happens, they adjust their lives to reflect these values. Whilst this may happen differently depending on the student, I believe that it does eventually happen. I also believe that although this process is essential in shaping Ursuline students, it is not the only step in the creation of these students. After all, people can hear words over and over again, but until they truly listen, that message will never sink in. The next step is for the student to cherish these values and to begin to understand them and begin to live them, not just believing them. So this is the theory behind the core transformation, but that again you know. So what do I believe that the term Ursuline student actually means? Well, firstly, I believe that the definition is not a solid one, but rather one that shimmers to change depending on the individual. To me, this term describes a person who has dedicated their life to growing their faith. I also know that this person is motivated to excel academically and to continue to learn even after he or she has finished school. I believe an Ursuline student is someone who sees with a veil of critical thinking and with a heart that yearns to care and give generously. I believe that an Ursuline student is someone who embraces the motto Serviam, even after he or she has left school. I am humbled in the belief that I am an Ursuline student, and I will spend the rest of my life watching in admiration as my fellow Ursuline students continue to challenge the world. So, to all of you who take your time to plan these conferences, thank you. To all of those who leave their homes and families in pursuit of this shared knowledge, your sacrifices do not go unnoticed. I would also like to thank the teachers sitting here today, for you have shaped your students' lives in ways that cannot and will not be ignored. On top of this, I would like to thank the Ursuline sisters, who serve as role models for our values. So thank you. Thank you to everyone sitting in this room, for you've sat through an 18-year-old speech, one that hopefully added a different color to the paintings in your life. Are there any questions?